And welcome to the Geeks, and Joysticks podcast YouTube channel. This is a show called What You Doing, where I talk about what watch and play during the week. I am your host, Enterprises, looking like a Gryffindor jock. I feel like I should be in a Gryffindor fraternity. That's what I want to see from Hogwarts, like an American version of Hogwarts, like fucking douchebag frat boys. Yeah, Gryffindor, yeah, Quidditch, yeah. Did not work. That's exactly what I look like. I look like the bully from Gryffindor. Hilarious. That actually hurt. I think I have a mild concussion. Anyway, let's push on through. I'm by myself this week. So let's get through this bullshit. All this crap I've been watching, man. I've been in a documentary series, mini-series vibe lately. Felix and I recently just talked about this first one on the pod, and it's called Surviving Death. It's about whether or not, I don't know if it's whether or not, because they kind of give you their point. They talk about the afterlife, different experiences people have, people's near-death experiences, people who actually died and came back to life, what they saw, what they felt, and it all kind of feels similar. All their experiences are the same. What I wanted from this series, I wanted it to be kind of like an unsolved mysteries of stories, but it was more like sprinkled little, like less stories and more people trying to convince you whether or not this is legit. There's 6 episodes. Each episode touches upon a certain form of death. The first one's near-death experiences. The second and third episode is split in 2 parts. It's touch upon mediums, and they contact people and how they contact people and whatever. After that is ghosts, reincarnations, and I forget what the other ones are. So yeah, the show kind of feels more like, I used to be, they say this probably 45 times throughout the whole series. I used to be someone who was very analytical, and you're talking to like doctors and they're like, I go by the facts, and I'm a stats person, and I don't believe in this and I don't believe in that. And so they're like trying to convince you of one thing instead of just giving me the facts. And they even say, I'm not trying to convince you. And it's like, okay, it kind of felt a little pyramid schemey in their delivery, but I was more intrigued with the stories, and I wanted more of the stories from it. The first one was this doctor lady. She passed away while she was kayaking. This is the very first story. And she was in an accident. She died for 30 minutes, and then she had an out-of-body experience where she describes a dome and other spirit-like things telling her to go back, and she doesn't want to go back. But everybody kind of explains the same type of feeling of not wanting to go back, and this overrush of peace and quiet and serenity. Yeah, what did shook me a little, there was no black people in the whole thing. So they go all over the world talking to people, and it was all white people. There might have been one New Zealand lady, but there was no people of color. They were all black. They were all white people. So I was like, okay. There was one Mexican, Carlos Santana looking dude. He was one Mexican, and actually, my mom had a near-death experience. That's Anton's fault. She almost bled out giving birth to that motherfucker. She gave birth to a rhino, man. Give her a fucking chance. But I wanted more of the stories. This other cool story was this lady who had a brain aneurysm, and she's dead. She had an aneurysm. It was, shout out to Dr. Dre, by the way. Speaking of aneurysms, he hasn't died, but I was like, this lady had an aneurysm, and they had to operate her. They had to like medically kill her, go in there, drain all the blood from her brain so that the aneurysm de-swells or whatever. So she was dead. But when she woke up, everything was thankful, thank God, and she could describe the tools they were using on her. I was like, and she can't see him. She was passed out. And the doctor's like, I mean, the way she describes it, that's the way I would describe it to someone who's never seen it, like an electric toothbrush or whatever. And I was like, oh shit, that was kind of cool. But then we get into the second episode, part 1 and part 2 of 2 and 3, episodes 2 and 3, and they go on mediums. Now, I don't know whether or not I believe this shit or not. I'm still iffy about it. I don't know. We want to believe because they're dealing with people who really, 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 more than anything in the world, want to contact somebody who's passed. So you have to be playing with that emotion. People who really want to believe, but they follow this guy who's kind of annoying because he's like, I don't know if I believe or not. But he's like, oh, he's got like 16 different mediums, and then he's like, I like this guy, like they were therapists. So I don't know if it's bullshit or not. But the second part of the medium episodes follows skeptics, and this guy's trying to disprove it. It's a lot of, I don't know, it's kind of iffy because the way that they contact people is kind of like a magic trick. It feels like to me, because they even show on this one guy. That's why I appreciate this part from the documentary. They show both sides. The people who are like super into it and like, holy shit, I believe it, and then you got the other side of like, but it could be bullshit though. Like, hey, it might be bullshit. It sounds like bullshit. It could be bullshit. And this guy was trying to like hit on everything he was saying, and he was missing completely. He was like, do you have a Frank? And he's like, no. Do you have the death was like, you could see it coming. It was like, no. Everything he was saying was a strike. So they also have this other lady who can conjure. I mean, it's interesting. It was physical mediumship, I think it was called, where the spirit manifests himself and then they come out through her. And she was talking like a little boy, she was talking like another lady, and she was talking like an old man. And it just reeks of bullshit to me. But ultimately, if all this, if mediumship helps you really get over what you're going through, I mean, I support it. Whatever makes you feel better, you know what I'm saying? But it just seems like bullshit because they even caught her. I'm not spoiling a whole lot. I'm spoiling just whatever I remember. She was like saying things like, "Oh, you have a green car, a really green, ugly car that looks like a fraud." She was like the kid. She was Tommy or whatever the kid was named was during this part of the reading, and they were in a circle and holding hands. And he's like, "Oh, it was a green ugly truck like a frog and or whatever." And then she would say like a catchphrase, and the guy was like, "Yeah." And then they found out that everything that she was hitting on is very easily Googleable. Like, she was allegedly contacting her grandpa, the guy's grandpa, and on their menu it was saying the words that she was saying. So it's kind of like, okay, I don't know, man. I end up saying, I don't know. Those episodes 2 and 3 out of 6, that's where that had me. Then they go into ghosts and reincarnations and people taking pictures and seeing them. So I actually enjoyed the series. It's called Surviving Death. It recently came out on Netflix. January 6th, I think it was. I feel like if you are suffering through grief, you're going through the grief, I feel like this is something that would definitely help because they show different forms of it, and you can attach yourself or convince yourself that it's okay, you know, that person is okay, that person moved on and they're safe. So I took it like if it was therapy, but it's a good watch. I liked it. It was not bad. It's not for everybody also, but I was a little skeptic, but I like that they shined a light on my part of the skepticism, which is pretty cool. Like I said, I was in a documentary vibe, so I watched the one that we recently talked about also on the pod. It's called Crack Cocaine, Corruption and Conspiracy. So during my life, I've always, through rap music and other forms and mediums, I've always heard that Reagan is to blame for the crack cocaine era and what it did to the black communities and all that. I'm ignorant. I studied down here in Mexico. I learned about Benito Juarez, which is not really because it all flew over my head. So I'm ignorant. I don't know shit. And this is one sitting documentary, is an hour and a half, about, is roughly, and it shows what crack cocaine did during the late 70s, early 80s through the 90s, how it affected everybody. They interview people who dealt it, who consumed it, all that. It was entertaining, it was informative. It's definitely not like hilarious, great, hilarious, dope ass documentary. It's definitely heavy. So they talk about the come up, like how a little kid, it hit during a time where everybody's out of jobs. You can't get any jobs, but you can sell this little powder for $20 a little pouch, and then kids become tycoons, and they start dealing $100 worth of shit a day, and that turns into 1,000, and that turns into 100,000, and that turns into 1,000,000, and then this little kids on the street are ruling the streets, and then they got people underneath, and it just starts to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow, and how Reagan was a part of it. Shout outs to Jordan. Jordan's in this documentary, not really. They just show him because when he was coming up through college, Len Bias is someone who was playing with him. They were considered rivals. They played against each other in the national championship, I think, and he was considered a cookie cutter, a nice down the straight path, and he overdosed from it. So that was a little after he got drafted to the Celtics, I think it was. So they start to talk about how that starts to change, and then other people from office. Again, it's not hilarious, it's not fun, it's informative, and I didn't mind it. I enjoyed it. I liked it. It was pretty cool. I informed myself from something I did not know, and now I know. So I talk about it, and now I'm gonna forget, because that's how my brain works. Because I have an error stupid. This third one that I also watched this week, I'll get to the movies. This is my last series documentary or whatever. It's The History of Swear Words. The History of Swear Words. This is hosted by Nicolas Cage. And it's the history, evolution, and cultural impact of swear words. It has a Vice kind of vibe to it. Is it Vice? The one I'm thinking of? No, Vox. I think of Vox. Where they're teaching you shit, but it's funny, and they use bad words, and they explain it to us millennials who don't know shit, even though we claim to. And they have a bunch of comedians on there. You got Jim Jeffries, Nikki Glacier, Nick Offerman is in there, Sarah Silverman, D. Ray Davis, and legit authors and researchers and professionals and people who have master degrees, and they're talking about bad words such as fuck, damn, pussy, dick, bitch, all this other stuff. I am a grosero. Hi, I'm Edward. Along with being a stupido, I'm a grosero. I like to use bad words. Because it was also considered that if you use bad words during trying to express yourself, that shows that you have a low IQ, because you can't find a word to definitely describe what you're trying to say, and you just be like, esa pinche madre, that fucking shit over there on the shit. That's what we do up here in this channel, we stupidos. So I was like, wow, okay, let's see what these words come from. I even said this on the pod when we talked about this trailer, the acronym of fuck, and it was fornication under the consent of the king. That turned out to be bullshit. That's not real. I was like, oh shit. So I learned something. Fuck is the first episode. So you got Nicolas Cage. He's reading off of, or he's talking to the people in front of a fireplace, and he's being all cool. And he's giving you history. So they go down history of the word. Where do they think they came from? Then that goes to cultural impact, how it was used, how we use it today, and what it means to each person, their favorite use of the word. So it's a bunch of comedians. By far, my MVP of the whole thing is Jim Jeffries. If you don't know Jim Jeffries, he's a Australian comedian, and he goes off this fuck tree, right? So he's talking about fuck, but he starts to say that fuck goes to motherfucker, and then motherfucker goes to son of a motherfucker, and then he just starts to break down all these fuck trees. But because he's got an Australian accent, it just enhances it to a billion times more, and it's great. I was dying laughing. Just look at it's the first episode. Go watch that part. It's fucking hilarious. I died. They also go down the line explaining how swear words produce adrenaline. So they do a little experiment. They stick their hand in an ice cold bucket. You can't swear, and the people who can't swear last less with their hand inside the bucket than the people that can swear. They also go by in the fuck one. In movies, which is the biggest swear word, I think fuck was, they just talk about the impact of fuck. Now, this little list shook me a little bit, because you'd be like, okay, who's the biggest grosero? Who's the biggest, foul mouth actor we got? I'm pretty sure the first one that popped into your mind, because it also popped into mine, is Samuel L. Jackson, right? These motherfucking snakes in this motherfucking plane, right? You just go motherfucker, right? Okay, so they did the FAP, top 5 grosero actors, right? 1 to 5. 5, take a guess. Okay, you're wrong. It's Al Pacino, dog. Okay, all right, that makes sense. Number 4, Adam Sandler was number 4 of Más Grosero, the most swearingest actor. Not necessarily that they say fuck, just that they say any bad foul word. Number 3, Samuel L. Jackson. That shook me. I was like, what? He's not number 1? Okay, who's more grosero than him? Number 2, we got pretty boy Leonardo DiCaprio's number 2. Okay, and the number 1, the más grosero actor that we got, this has shook me, is Jonah fucking Hill. Jonah fucking Hill. Now that you go back and think about it, okay, super bad. He's swearing up a storm on that whole movie, and you start to break it down. It makes sense. I forget how many words he said during like a 5-year span between Wolf of Wall Street and some other movies. I think Wolf of Wall Street was the one he said the most swear words. I think it was like 300 and something. But that shook me. That's only fuck, but they go down the line of swear words. Shit. They talk about bitch. This one kind of affected me a little bit, because I wasn't, ignorant, hello, error, stupido. I wasn't aware that bitch is a slur. Because I am so engulfed, whether I like it or not, in the gay community because of Bubbles. Shout outs to Bubbles. And everything you watch, they call each other bitch. So that kind of rubs off a little bit, and it's fun to say. So I call him a bitch, or some of my female cousins, I call them a bitch. I only call one of them. Shout out to Erica. I only call them bitch because it's fun to say, you know what I'm saying? But if it's a stranger, I'm like, what up, bitch? Or like, this bitch. But they shine the light to the fact that it's a slur. It's not nice. But at the end of the day, they were like, hey, if the person you're calling them a bitch is cool with it, you're cool with it. After that, they go down dick, pussy, and damn. Damn is kind of whatever. Like, okay. But Jim Jeffries, my MVP, said that dick is the only word that has a logo. And it's true. Dick is the only word with a logo. I liked it. It was probably too short for me. The episode's around 30 minutes long. Nicolas Cage is a perfect host for this. He adds the perfect amount of legitness and craziness and comedy and seriousness. He's great. I loved him. Hopefully, I don't know if they can do this. I don't know if it will work or not. Hopefully they go down the line and do more swear words. I would like them to do like slurs. Maybe even, obviously having people from that community that are allowed to say it in that community, especially the N-word. Imagine just taking Nicolas Cage out and put in, I don't know, Samuel L. Jackson would be a perfect, swap, and have him talk about the N-word and explain where it comes from. We kind of know where it comes from, but there's a lot of people out there that don't know where it comes from and still using it. So that could be a whole damn hour. Maybe you could get people to actually educate themselves on that, and that'd be dope. I would like to see second season, more bad words. I loved it. It was great. Let's get into some of the movies. I watched a handful of movies. I was feeling kind of old school ish. The movie isn't old school, but the themes are. So the first movie I watched this week was Mank. We talked about the trailer. Bubbles completely out of it. I was interested. And this is a David Fincher directed movie. Mank is so in 1940, Orson Welles, the director, actor, OG, at age of 24, gets to work with anyone he wants, and he picks Herman J. Mankiewicz. Mankiewicz is a raging alcoholic screenwriter. Why am I talking like that? Screenwriter. What the fuck? Okay. Orson Welles, of course, for y'all who don't know, he starred, directed one of the greatest movies allegedly of all time in Citizen Kane. So starring and directing is, it's kind of like me, you know what I'm saying? I'm starring and directing in this shit. A la verga. Su puta madre, wey. Okay, maybe not like me. Fucking damn it. Pendejo. Yeah, so he starred and directed Citizen Kane. It's regarded as one of the best films of all time. When you study film school, which I didn't, but I've heard a million times, they make you watch Citizen Kane. If you haven't seen Citizen Kane, you go now, because I don't know, I don't want to bash Citizen Kane, but the time when I watched it, I didn't think it was that great. I was like, okay, whatever, this is one of the greatest things of all time. And I think from what I remember, I saw it a couple years ago, and they kind of touched upon it here. Citizen Kane is about a political figure, I think, and he's running for office, and he's trying to do all these things, and it follows this guy Kane, played by Orson Welles, and I think he dies, but he says Rosebud at the end of his death or something like that, and people are trying to figure out what the fuck Rosebud means. And during the whole movie, you're kind of trying to figure it out, and they do flashbacks of when him coming up in the political game and all that, right? That's Citizen Kane in a nutshell. So it's in black and white. When I watched it, I was 20 something. I'm like, this sucks. I need to go watch it now. So this movie, coming back to Mank, this follows the writer of that movie, Herman Mankiewicz. This is played by Gary Oldman. Amanda Seyfried is in it. Lily Collins is also in it. The guy who played Herman, the guy who played Orson Welles was great. He's pretty good. I don't know his name. I forgot to write it in. So it sounds kind of boring, because if you don't give a shit about Citizen Kane, it is. It's just him, he's a raging alcoholic. He's at the end of his career trying to figure out what's up, what's going on, and then he's just like a fuck up. Gary Oldman he's a huge fuck up, and they don't believe him, and then he's getting kicked out of this, and it's very Hollywood in the 1940s, dealing with MGM, and then there's an election. There's a part that I didn't understand. It kind of lost me for a bit. And then he's trying to get credit, because back in the day, Orson Welles would just buy the whole thing and be like, yeah, I did it. But no, he's like a ghostwriter, and then they win, and it's like, okay, what the hell's going on? So it had me up for a loop, but I was interested the whole time. It sounds boring. If you don't give a shit about Citizen Kane, then I don't recommend it. Watch Citizen Kane instead, so you can argue with people whether or not it's a great movie or not. I did notice some things from this movie, like the way it's shot cinematically, that I was like, okay, I see what you're doing. So it took me a while to figure it out, because I thought it was something on my end, but other than the movie being in black and white, there's an audio echo, right? So other than being in black and white, there are also what are concerned cigarette burns, is when the film goes like there's like a black little circle, and it goes and comes in like if it was an old school film, and that's what these effects are trying to replicate. But there's an audio echo, as if it was being played in an old theater back in the 40s, and it's distracting a little bit at first. You're like, okay, what the hell's going on? But it makes sense during the context of the movie and the effect that they're trying to achieve, that David Fincher's trying to achieve. I felt like it was great. I felt like it was pretty cool. But first, like, is that a fucking audio echo? What the hell's going on? Did a little research, and that's the effect they were trying to achieve, which they did, and I thought it was pretty cool. There's also these great shots. It's David Fincher, as we know. I did want to give a shout out to Trent Reznor, the guy from Nine Inch Nails. He composed the music, and it was really good. He composes a lot of music in cinema now, so shout outs to him. Again, Mank is kind of a boring. It was kind of like crack, the crack cocaine documentary. It's a little boring. It's a little heavy. It's a little depending on if you're interested or not. I can't fully recommend on that one. But music is great, shots are great, that audio thing is great, Gary Oldman's performance is great. Amanda Seyfried is creeping up as a very good actress. I like her a lot. It was okay. It's okay. The music was great. Anyway, let's move on to the final movie of the week, talking about music, dog. Shit. Okay. Talk about Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Both of these movies are on Netflix. Everything that I talked about is on Netflix, or shout outs to Netflix, right? Yeah, surviving. Yeah, all this on Netflix. Shout outs to Netflix. Go watch Netflix. Non-sponsor. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. This is about the mother of blues. So you start off in the 1920s, and they show Ma Rainey, played by Viola Davis, singing in Georgia, in a little club in Georgia, and then she starts to become big. This is shown in like a 3-minute part of the movie, and now she's pretty huge, and she's recording her record in Chicago, and she's got her whole band. It's Viola Davis, and then she's got a pianist, she's got a bass player, a trombone, I think it was, and then you got a trumpet player. The trumpet player is played by Chadwick Boseman, the king. He's like the up and coming, right? He's got dreams and aspirations. He feels like he's gonna break out from anything. There's early in the movie, there's a scene where she's singing, right? The music is great. Lip sync not so much, but still whatever. The music is great, and Chadwick, his character, I forget what his fucking name was, he steps in front of her and starts to play, and literally takes the spotlight from her for a second, and then she starts to sing again, and then he forces the spotlight guy to shine it back on her. So that gives you a sense of the tension between Ma Rainey and Chadwick Boseman's character. So he's just, the whole time this movie is taking place during that recording. I like that. I love that. So it has a very play-like feel to it, where it's just taking place in one location. They don't move anywhere. They don't really go anywhere. It's taking place in Chicago, in the basement of a recording session, and they're rehearsing, waiting for Ma to come to start the recording. The band is there. They start to play. Chadwick is like, I made some arrangements for her music, and don't touch her music, and it's all this drama that starts to unravel before they start to actually record. And he's trying, the sense is that he's trying to make it, he's trying to break out, he thinks he's better than everybody and all that. His performance is damn fucking perfect, man. It's perfect. I don't know. I mean, hindsight is 2020. He looks hella skinny in this. He looks really skinny in this. Now knowing what he was actually struggling through, it's easier to point out. But he was really, really, really skinny in this. But that didn't take away from the emotion and the heart that he showed in this movie. I thought his performance was fantastic. I felt every word that he was said. There is a tone of suppression that was taking place even to this day, but more back then, of how white people were treating his family, or how white people treat Ma, how the roles are reversed because now they want money from her, now they're kissing her ass. She's she's a diva. She's like a hell to work with, and I'm like, hell yeah, you get it, Ma. Like, make them pay. Like, she won't start recording until she has a Coke, and then everything is stopped, and then they're trying to get her nephew on. So it's this whole thing behind the recording of, and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is the name of the very first song on the record. So I like when those movies just take place in one part. They don't have us flip-flopping. Mank had us flip-flopping and back and forth, and because they crashed, and then he's like, I was showing before the crash, and he was writing it during he was so it was this whole mess. And Ma is just like, all right, it's an hour and a half in and out. Mank was over 2 hours in and out, to the point. This is the thing, this was going on. Bam. Chadwick Boseman is hitting on Ma's girl. Yeah, I said it. Ma's got a girl. What was good? He's hitting on Ma, and then it's a drama, and that drama, well, you think and I think, and then they're just back and forth banter between the bandmates, because Chadwick Boseman is like the young lion. He's trying to come up, and they're just back and forth. It's just nonstop. It doesn't let you take a break. And it's captivating. I love Chadwick Boseman. I hurt for his loss every day. It sucks. That sucks. That really sucks. He I don't know if this movie has a Heath Ledger effect on it too. Not like, now we appreciate what we don't have even more now that it's not here effect, kind of. I hope that's not the case, but I want to say Oscar for him. If I don't even know what's going to happen with that. It didn't come out to theater, but whatever. his performance. He almost made me cry. He was holding a tear inside of his in his duct for like a fucking 2 minutes while he's telling the story of what happened to his mama and shit. And he's like, you can feel it. You're like, oh shit! Like I felt it. I was like, holy shit. He's a fantastic actor. This made me want to go back and watch even more things that he did that I missed out on pre Black Panther. Yeah, Viola Davis is also awesome too. She can play a bitch really well. And there I go using bitch as a slur. But she was great, a diva, OG diva. Let's say that she was great. Like I felt the tension between them two. You hate her because she's like, it's like, come on, man. Like everything you made her do, like, come on, like let's go. But again, I love this movie. This is probably my favorite movie I've seen on Netflix all year. Music is great. The story is great. It takes a hella crazy turn towards the end that I was not expecting. For that alone, I was like, holy shit, okay, that's crazy. And then I'm pretty sure it's a true story. I don't know if the ending is. I'm pretty sure it is, because it started to show pictures of Ma at the end, what she actually looked like, and it was pretty damn close. And they showed a recording of them singing and what it sounds like. It was pretty good, damn close. I enjoyed Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I recommend it 100%. Go like that. Go watch that. If you're into blues, even if you're not, if you like Chadwick Boseman, even if you don't, if you like Viola Davis, even if you don't, if you're into that, it's easy to digest. It's easy. You don't have to think about it. You just consume whatever's going on. You don't have to put pieces together. It's a quick story that happens in one period of time, and it's very, very, very easy to digest. I really love this movie. I liked it a lot. It's probably my favorite Netflix movie without a doubt. I'm trying to think. Yeah, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I loved it. Anyway, leave us a comment down below what y'all been watching this week. If you watch any of the things that I recommended to you, straight up, I only recommend History of Swear Words, Surviving Death if you're going through grief, Mank. I think 80% of people can skip it, and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is 100%. Go watch that shit. What's your favorite swear word? Leave it down below. Yeah. Shit, I gotta fly off to the fucking Hogwarts, son. Go run through a wall. Alright. Always and forever. Bye.